Wow.
Wow.
Almost.
Was it close? Was it closer than last time?
Not on my side, not at all.
Oh, damn.
Welcome back to another episode of Into the Industry. This is episode 8.
Episode 8. Here we
We've made it.
are.
We've made it to episode 8. We've made it more episodes than me and Nico's failed podcast, Hot Tops. Listen to it now, currently still on Spotify. And me
We
and
miss
Alana are
you,
just
Hot
sitting
Tops.
here. Still on, I don't miss Hot Tops. It's still Riverside, remote, but also still together. I have a little cold currently, so I don't want to get Alana more sick than she actually is.
Hey, I also have a cold.
Maybe we should get away from me. So, how was your week, Alana? How's it been?
Oh, gee, my week's been great.
Oh, it sounds like it.
Yeah, the week's been good. Just working a ton. My producer job is kind of gearing up for a reading that we're doing later this month, and that's about all I can say about that.
Oh, well, how nice is that?
Yeah, it's super nice, super fun. Yeah, it's just a lot of prep work and everything. And we live, laugh, we love.
I live laughing and loving.
What about you? What's up with you in Oh Maryland?
Oh, Maryland is still Oh Maryland. We are currently gearing up for another cast change. We have Jane Krakowski coming in as the titular role of Marytown Lincoln, Cheyenne Jackson as Mary's teacher, Jam as Mary's husband, which is very exciting. And we're currently in the reign of Hannah Solo, previous guest on the podcast, playing the role of Mary full time, which she's brilliant. If you ever have the opportunity to see Hannah when she's on, please go see her. It is such a great show. And I'm also gearing up to do How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That's not until December, but it is quite a big show. I have 30 wigs I need to do in December, so I need to start doing that and getting everything lined up for that.
Well, if you need a little head to prep some wigs on, I'll volunteer myself.
Right. I'll make you a who.
I could be a who.
Like you. Well, that's the other thing. Because I'm also makeup designing it too. And I'm like, am I going to have to buy everybody who knows prosthetics? Or are we just going to give in to the theater of it all? I mean, we're not doing the prosthetics, right? No.
That's
no.
when I did Annie and the director was like, Warbucks doesn't have to be bald.
I mean, does he?
And no, he doesn't. And and then he was also like, and Annie, does she have to have curly red hair?
I mean, kinda. I would think so.
Right. I feel like you could do something with the who knows of
No, it'll be a makeup thing. I'll make
yeah.
it. I'll make them all live in the same world or something. But I need to
It's
start.
just like a super red, cute button nose.
I need to start making moves to start that because it is the beginning of October. And I love Halloween, but Christmas is just around the corner. So I need to start being on that. What's new in theater news? What's going on currently, which we know. Would you like to
We
tell
know
them?
exactly what's going on currently. Thank you for that little intro slide. So listen, everybody. I think that we all know what's going on in the theater industry right now. Just for starters, we are filming this currently on October 6th. So
Any new information post October 6th? We do not know. This is recorded
we
in
do
advance.
not know. Respectfully not coming back onto film, but I just think that we wanted to kind of give a nice little breakdown of what is currently happening with Actors Equity in the Broadway League, because it's important to talk about and we want everybody to kind of know what is happening, because we just let's chat about it. Basically, I'm going to give a little rundown of what's going on. Darian and I have both agreed that we're not necessarily going to give our opinions about things because it is still an ongoing negotiation.
Yeah. Not that
And
they're problematic opinions.
yeah, no, not that they're
problematic
problematic opinions at well, but it's also the fact that we both are not members of Actors Equity. I hope to be one day, but yeah, so we're not gonna fully give our opinions and comment on it. I just kind of want to give like a, hey, this is what's happening. Here's some other sources that you can look at to follow along, because it's important as artists that we understand like what's going on in our industry. And here's that. So basically, a lot of this information that I'm going to talk through right now, I found from New York. So that's like www.amny.com, which is a little on-site blog. And this information that they gave was posted on October 3rd. But basically, so like Actors Equity, which includes all of the actors and stage managers as well, even though stage managers are not actors, they're in the same union. They have a production contract with the Broadway League, and that expired, I think it expired on September 26th, 2025. So they have spent, and like they have known that that production contract was ending, and they spent all of summer negotiating, like starting negotiations. And those negotiations didn't go so hot because it led up to the production contract being expired, and now we're kind of past that
Yeah,
main negotiation happening.
and now Broadway is currently running on an expired contract.
And they are currently running on an expired contract. So, yeah, I think that they said the negotiation started around like August. And right now, kind of like when we're filming this episode right now, they have agreed, like it's a mutual agreement to take a break for negotiations on both sides. And they're gonna resume October 8th. So basically, kind of things that Equity is asking for are safe staffing, humane scheduling, sustainable working conditions, and the paying fair share of benefits. Which, yeah, is tea. And I'm like gonna talk a little bit about like the paying of the fair share of benefits, because I think that that's really important, because this is a huge kind of talk about healthcare and healthcare for actors, and also just the state of healthcare in this country currently, as we're amid a government shutdown as well.
Well,
But basically, okay, so Equity has said that they are asking the Broadway League producers to pay 0.21% of weekly grosses in addition to what they currently are paying to the healthcare fund. And now you might ask, what is the Broadway League currently paying? They are currently paying $150 per week per person towards the actor's health fund. And you might say like, oh, well, that's a lot, because there's a lot of people like in Equity. It's not that much like when you think about it, because that's just the Broadway houses. All of the other Equity houses that are majority under like a LORT contract or any other type of like production agreement. Yeah.
this is the production contract. They're in negotiations for just the production contract. The production
With
contract
the
has
Broadway
expired.
houses.
And that's just the Broadway houses. So the
So
regional houses and equity houses that are not production contracts, which none of the regional houses are production contracts. Only Broadway contracts are production contracts.
okay. But it's still, I think, from my understanding, like part of the negotiation to say that, like, under other contracts, equity houses are still paying like 4% of their weekly grosses into the health fund, which ultimately is like more than the 150 per week per person.
Oh yeah. Well, regardless, overall, equity needs to re-up their health insurance policies because their health insurance has never been good. And
Right.
they don't pay enough money into the actors' health insurance. A lot of actors that I know that are equity and also SAG prefer their SAG health insurance because the SAG health insurance is better than the equity health insurance. So one part of this big fight is for insurance and benefits being paid more into, and currently that's not happening. I would say in terms of the looming possibility of a strike happening, which is currently which is what the union uses to be like, hey, this is a union, we stand together. If you are not willing to meet us, if you are not willing to meet our negotiations, then we will not work. And that is
Mm-hmm.
what both the producers and the Broadway League and Equity both agreed on when they made the production contract, and Equity, the union as a whole. And what that means for Broadway is that no actor or stage manager would be allowed to work in a Broadway house unless the strike ends and they come to an agreement over a new contract. But what that also means is all the other unions that work in our Broadway houses, because we are together, we will also in solidarity, is that what it's called?
Yeah, in solidarity.
Also take a leave from our posts and also refuse to work until the equity contract is um finalized between the Broadway League and Equity. That means Broadway it's done. That means all of Broadway goes dark until this happens. Now, what does that mean for you, the average person, or you, the actor, or you, the small person finding out more about the industry? It means that our industry will be out of work and we will be losing money. And that's not good. That's not good for anyone. So the pressure to put on the Broadway League to be able to push to make these changes to be either better the actors or their contract is very important. So if you would like to, go to your social medias, go to your Instagrams, find reasonable sources, find the Equity Instagram page, find the Equity resources that they will provide you to be able to support them in the fight for a new contract. Because also, if there's a world where we do go on strike, a lot of people are going to be out of work and a lot of people aren't going to be able to have funds and means to live until this new contract is found. So please do your research. Please look into it. Please give whatever you can in lieu of this strike. Sorry,
Exactly.
I just jumped on top of you.
No, that was good.
Andrew McLaughlin, our guest on our third episode, who is a company manager, he says, if you have any more questions about contracts or anything, in that episode, we do talk a lot about 13, I think,
Yeah, it
unions
was like
that are
13,
currently on
the
Broadway.
13 unions.
And he talked a lot about contracts and negotiations and whatever, if you want to hear us talk a little bit more about the contract side of things. But that is a great resource, and also a little plug towards us. So
Exactly. Resources that you could be looking for are Equity United on their Instagram page. They're doing a great campaign towards letting people know what is going on and what they're fighting for. Ashley Huffer just made a great video talking about all of the information that you need to know. Jesse James Rose also has a fantastic video of him linking other sources as well that you can follow. And some of these people that I'm about to say are in that video that Jesse made. The SMVP.Coster, she's the stage manager, vice president of Equity right now. We Are Stage Left, Sarah Quinn Taylor, and Carla Martinez. Those are all members of Equity who are constantly posting about it on social media to let you know what is going on, and they're a great resource to follow along.
yeah. But that's about it on that. So please, again, do your research, reach out, see what you need to know, and see what you can do to help. On other news, we have a lovely guest on the podcast today. His name is Eugenio Contenti. A little known fact, he was mine and Alana's teacher in college. Also esteemed director, esteemed choreographer, esteemed
Person.
life liver. Life liver. And we're gonna have a great conversation with him about directing, and he's also by not I was gonna say bi-coastal, that's not real.
He's on a different coast, girl.
He's multi-continental.
There we go.
He does a lot of work in the States, he does a lot of work in Europe and in Italy and just across Europe, and we got to have a lovely conversation with him, and we're very excited for you to hear it.
Please enjoy.
Please enjoy. Cut to break ad time now.
Bye.
Oh my God, hello. Welcome back from our little break. We are now here with Eugenio Contenti. We have quite a relationship with Gene because Gene was not only our director but our teacher in college.
Yes. I'm supposed to say something like, "You guys were fabulous." No, but you guys were
Yeah, you can.
fabulous. Yes, I had the two of you for different classroom projects, different courses, and you both were little shining stars. And I'm so happy to see everything that you've been doing since.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for lying.
Yes.
No, that's that's not true. I remember everything you sang. I can do a list of all the songs you sang if you want.
Well, that's a killer memory because I don't even remember everything I sang. It
The
goes,
first semester I came, I subbed for your teacher. You sang "I'm Coming Out of My Shell" from A Year with Frog and Toad, the dairy. And
yes, I did.
Elena, she had the most extravagant and versatile portfolio. So we landed on, for her showcase, we landed on Ireland from Legally Blonde. And it was so good. She had a reprise, which, for showcase was kind of like a new device. So it was really great.
Yes, and I had a whole diner named after me too.
That's true.
That was also true, and I felt very special.
That's true. That's true.
It's coming
So
back to me now that because I know Darian and I were talking about before, I am realizing that I only had you for showcase, and I didn't have you for a teacher. I
Class.
had I had David Cady.
Yes. Good. You had good teachers.
It's coming
Yes.
back to me now.
And it's
I said,
funny you say it's all coming back to me now because that was actually one of the two songs that Darian sang for what we called like panel night. So he sang It's All Coming Back to You Now. And I believe it was the Caveman song.
it was the caveman song.
Yeah,
Like
I
I said,
mean, come on.
your memory is impeccable because again, I said I don't know. What
No,
did I
teaching is
say?
a big it's a big passion. And I remember sometimes I remember the songs more than the names. It's like, you are the person who sang, 10 cents a dance second semester. And they look at me like, what? But yeah.
Well, speaking of teaching, and like I said before, and how we met you at AMDA being our teacher and our director, you started off as a performer as well.
Yes.
What what gave you the insight that you kind of wanted to start directing or teaching and making that turn, or did you always kind of know that you wanted to do that?
It's more of the latter. I mean, I always knew I was one of those kids that was like lining up his friends and making them do dances as a kid. So I knew I wanted to be a director, but when you're 4, they don't hand you directing projects. So I was like, but I do enjoy performing. It's just I felt like I always wanted to be a director. It was more figuring out what was the path for me to get into it, and performing seemed very organic because I liked to, and a lot of directors I was looking up to were former actors. So I figured, and I was looking at programs, and it seemed like acting was a major component of programs that I was interested in. And I'm glad that was the path to get into directing through performing.
And not only are you an incredible teacher and director, you're also a stunning
Thank you.
choreographer.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're lying too, maybe. Who knows?
I never
But
lie.
I do
A lot.
appreciate it. I love to tell stories in whatever way I think the material demands, and sometimes I'm grateful I get to choreograph as well, and some other times I'm blessed with collaborations with really good choreographers. So I keep switching it up. It's great.
Do you ever deal with well, this kind of negates my next question because you always had an eye for it and you knew that you kind of always had an interest in it. But becoming a performer and being a performer, and then now you are definitely enveloped in the creative side of things more. Did you ever have a moment where you're like, well, maybe I should stop directing. Maybe I should focus on the performing aspect. Maybe I need to start auditioning for things more. Maybe I need to like, or was it always like a things will come to me and then you made
I
your
wish I
trajectory
wish
that
you
way?
were like, I mean, I wish you were born with that insight and you were kind of just, it just was given to you. I think you learn it as you go. If anything, was the other way around, was like the plant you water, the plant that grows kind of thing. So I was like, maybe I need to audition less and try to get more into directing, which I don't know if it's more competitive or less competitive. I believe it's less competitive than performing because it's just the nature of performing just attracts, I believe, more people, but I might be wrong. I don't know if there's any data, but as an actor, you're not given a success handbook, and everybody's path is different. Like my college teacher, Evan Pappas, used to tell us, everybody's path is different as an actor. And I think for a director, I mean, I don't want to say that it's harder. There's another saying I love, which is, to the podiatrist, the world is a gigantic toe. Like everybody thinks that they have it harder than everybody else, or they only look at their own path. But I do think that directing is, literally is in a handbook, or there is not a backstage.com for directing where you go and you submit for ideas. So I have been definitely struggling with maybe which path to focus more on. And eventually I landed where you mentioned, like, I'll just do what my heart tells me, and I'll do my best while doing it, and things will happen as they should. It's not always that easy, but part of me splitting time between Europe and the United States was maybe the conundrum. Like, I never thought, is it directing or performing? I thought, do I live in the United States or do I live in Europe? That was a big struggle for me.
And I mean, Alana, I know you have some questions because that is true. You do split your time quite a lot from being here and then in Europe.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm so interested in like if there's like any like big differences between like theater
Where do
in
you
New
live in
York.
Europe?
No,
You,
you,
not me, girl. I
you.
don't live in Europe.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Not
Alana,
yet.
are we neighbors? I mean, there's,
Not yet. I'm working on getting my German citizenship.
that's
So I
amazing.
can,
Well, then, flying is very easy here. So you guys should visit for sure.
yeah.
But I think you have a great question. And I think it depends on where you work in Europe. And yes, it's different. And I think musical theater is so entrenched within the, you know, North American zeitgeist in all of sorts of, like, sometimes I visit schools as a teacher, and it's like they take musical theater in elementary school and they putting on, they're doing the Music Man and everybody's building sets. I wish I've had that experience here. Musical theater is not necessarily as developed. In Italy, we have great productions of opera and plays, but musical theater is still finding its footing. Of course, the UK is more involved with musical theater, and Germany. Talk about Germany. There's a lot of musical theater in Germany. There are many Broadway replicas going on and new productions, and same with Spain. Spain, it's really. I think Spain is number 3 in Europe for the country with biggest amount of musical theater. There's lots of productions in Madrid, Barcelona, and then Hamburg, Stuttgart, Berlin. There's a ton of musical theater there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there is quite a lot of.
I mean, Hamilton was in Germany, was in German, like
Hmm.
they will take, and many shows are actually developed in Germany. Rocky was developed in Germany, Sister Act was developed in Germany, Hercules was originally developed in Germany. So it's also a place where they're trying out material before moving it to the United States or the West End. There is the infrastructure, there are the placements for jobs, it's a really rich work environment. There's a lot of projects.
Okay. I was gonna ask, like, do you find it like more sustainable on like an international level to like be an artist than in the States?
I don't know. It's such a good question. I think the states are so big that, as Bayerkley says, there's a show for everybody, and that's very true. Because literally, the regional theater in the middle of nowhere might produce the best work you've ever seen, and there is a culture for fundraising and boards, and people put money because they get tax write-offs if they do. There's a whole thing. So I'm grateful for my work in the United States, because that sustains me a lot, and it allows for me to be in 2 places at once. And my US projects tend to be much bigger than my European projects that are always a little smaller, because we don't have as much infrastructure, especially in Italy, unfortunately, for musical theater as of now.
I kind of wanted to go back to like your journey into directing. So it's like you went to AMDA, yes?
Yes,
Okay.
I did. I was an integrated student at AMDA, New York.
You went to AMDA and then like you graduate AMDA and like you spend the years like studying to be a performer. And then like you've kind of always had this feeling that like you wanted to get into directing. So it's just like the graduation cap is off. Like what now? Like what steps did you do? What did you
I
go
was
through in order to get to where you are?
Thank you. I mean, uh, I'm not used to talk about this stuff, so forgive me if I stumble a little bit. I was a child actor in Italy, so I always had this like proactive mind, always looking for how to improve, how to get better. And every job, I would always have my eyes open for, do they need an assistant? Do they need an intern? Like, interestingly enough, the semester right after I graduated from AMDA, I was an intern for Showcase. I was Igor Golden's intern and Keith Andrews. And I was just sitting around and they would give me notes to give people. And I was an assistant director back home. I had been working as an associate director on some tours. So I had the skill set, but I didn't have the connections. So I think that's why going to school in New York is so great, because you're working with people that are literally in the industry, because in the morning they're going to cast shows or rehearse for shows, and not only Broadway shows, which, it's fabulous, but again, some of those fabulous regional theaters where you really want to work to build your resume, and they're your teachers in the morning or at night for Showcase. So, and then I started, I did audition for a job as a choreographer for a production of Carrie, but that was also through a teacher who was directing. So I always had my antenna out. And then most of the jobs I got, especially at the beginning, were because a director I associated couldn't direct it. So it is about your network, because they were like, I can't do this job. They would get to the next phase in their career and they would be like, but this guy maybe can, they would tell the producer, this guy maybe
Mhm.
can direct it. And so it's interesting because actors, I think they think, directors just sit there and it's like, they just have to check their names out of a box. And it's like, I don't know. But I do feel like as creatives, and I mean, Darian knows this very well, think you are actually also kind of playing the waiting game a lot, and you're
Mhm.
also wondering how to move further in your career. Like I have conversations with Broadway directors and important directors all the times where they're like, I'm trying to get into that thing and the next thing. Like we're all in the same, everybody is in the same grind. It's just up to us how you want to let it affect you and how you want to handle it. But ultimately everybody is trying to get to their next phase, including directors. And hey, when actors come and audition, feel like they have the pressure of getting the job to pay their bills or to put that title on the resume. I mean, I just cast Charlie Brown over here in Italy, and I felt like I was the one with the most pressure because I could not find Charlie Brown. And I was like, I need, and they were coming in, they were singing the Kite song, and they were all fabulous, and they were all great, but I felt like the producers are waiting for me to give them a
Mhm.
final answer. And if I don't have it, or, so I don't know how I got here. That
Yes.
was the road. Yes, yes.
From AMDA, and kind of what me and Alana, our very first episode of the podcast was kind of about our AMDA experience and us going there.
Hmm.
And I say in that episode too, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. Part of the best experience I got from going to school in New York for musical theater and stuff and going to a school like AMDA was you were working and in class with working professionals that led
Hmm.
you to be able to have networking, yes, but also insight on what's actually going on the
That
field and
part.
what's actually going
Yes.
on in real time. And especially like not what was going on back when I was doing this 10, 15 years ago. It's like, well, no, I went to an audition this morning or I was having a meeting with someone this morning. And that being such a luxury, because not saying that that does not exist in other schools elsewhere, because it does, but like being able to see it happen. And I'll go back to like, I don't love being like networking will get you very far, but like part of theater is people love working with good people. People like working with people that they know are going to get the job done and people that are going to be kind and friendly to everyone. So when you are starting off and you are quote unquote little starting out in the beginning, it will benefit you to be able to take like those intern opportunities, be able to make those great relationships. Because just like what you were saying, well, I can't do this, but I know someone else who might be able to. They were my
It
intern when
happens
I
so
did
much.
this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't believe that, like, oh, everyone says networking, 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 but like that is networking, and networking can mean a
Yes.
bunch of different things.
And exactly, like it doesn't necessarily mean to go to parties and talk to someone and have your eyes on someone else. I actually I hate that. That element of what are you working on? I don't know, what are you doing? That's kind of why I love to work there, but I also love to work elsewhere because it gives you perspective. And I ultimately like to cook and be with my cat. I feel like those are important passions
Yes.
that keep me, I want to read my book. But I think if you frame the idea of networking around surround yourself with people you can learn from and you admire and find your mentors. Who are the people you look up to and ask for help and have them guide you if they would be kind enough to do that. And I think that is a good way of framing like I never interned for something just to get into the room. I interned and I would now happily if I had something to learn. Like,
Hmm.
where is that you want to learn and go there not for the product and don't go there for the destination, go there for the journey of what is that I'm going to learn in this experience. And what I learned from a Showcase being an intern was a lot about dealing with directing and choreography lingo for the United States, was learning a different style of directing, was learning how to craft a review out of nowhere. I learned a ton working with those people and I'm so grateful to them. And then yes, I ended up getting jobs because of them, but that's not why I interned.
To be able to learn the information that you are going to
Yeah.
eventually need to learn. Yeah.
I'm going to intern not because of the opportunity of if I work with them, then I'll make it. It's like, what am I gonna learn? And I don't think there's any point in interning someone you don't look up to or you just for the networking. That seems miserable to me.
Yes.
I think that, I feel like a lot of people, especially, actors and stuff, they feel like when they go to school and, yeah, you're paying, a shit ton of money to study this craft, but just because you get a degree and when that time ends, that doesn't mean that, your learning is over, and I feel like a lot of people kind of have that idea, already set in, but that's why, you are constantly learning as, an artist, and you should, and I'm a big advocate for learning other fields and skills within the industry because
Hmm.
then you end up gaining more respect for the entire cast and crew of people that you're working around every single day. So yeah, that's I think it's hugely important to take those internships and those jobs that seem like nothing to other people but are actually really truly major skill gaining that you're gonna have.
Yes, and I think it's a good humble step to take because it doesn't matter what is it, but if you take a little step towards what the goal is every day, you can go to sleep thinking, I am watering my little plant and it doesn't matter, it's like dreaming big but acting small. Like today I
Mhm.
am doing this thing because that's gonna be good for my soul, for my heart, and for my career. And it doesn't matter if you do it in a school or in a basement or on a Broadway stage. I feel like as long as you do something that you are happy with, no matter how small, eventually you find your way and sometimes it shifts. I thought that moving to Europe was going to cut me off of the US jobs. And if anything, it didn't. It just added opening a new door doesn't mean closing others. It just opened a new door. And if anything, now I have a little bit of a job arc even on this side of the ocean. Who knows? Maybe if I stayed in the United States, I don't know, but what I know is that it makes me happy this way. And I think
Yeah.
that's the most important thing.
Yeah. You said a little before in the first question that some young actors might have a misconception about what, or you alluded to it, might have a misconception about what directors do.
Yeah.
What would you what would you say is the most common misconception, or is there something that about directing that younger actors don't necessarily understand or that they need to be exposed to first? Is there anything that comes to your mind?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think reminding that directors are just other people who are trying to do a good job is a very important thing. In an audition, I feel like we are very much under pressure, although we get to sit down and drink coffee. Oh, it's not glamorous. We have a set of problems with a deadline. I feel like that's a lot of live theater. It's a set of problems with a deadline. And sometimes tickets are on the line and sales and sometimes fandoms, like again, with this Charlie Brown, which is my current project, we're dealing with huge fandom of the Peanuts and, what they
Hmm.
might think. And it's a different type of pressure, but I love actors who understand that. And it's a collaboration, of course, with them. But I think that's the main thing. It's directors are just other artists, I suppose, that are trying to succeed their own way. And also the other misconceptions, I believe this is not much of a, I think it's an obvious thing, especially for someone who's been trained in the United States, is that directors have all the answers and they really don't. And I always like to say that I don't want to have all the ideas. I just like to pick one. And which is why I try to surround myself with designers I love to brainstorm with. And I think of actors as designers as well of their own character arc. And I love creative artists who are able to bring a lot of stuff to the table. And the less directing I can do, the better, because it makes me feel like it's everybody's project and they have agency within the show and we all get to create it together. Whereas I feel like sometimes younger actors wait for direction. Like, you go
Hmm.
here, this is your point of view. And I'd love to tell you if I have a clear idea, but I'd love you to bring that point of view to the
Yeah.
table. And most of the people who get cast is that because that point of view, whether it's right or wrong, they bring it into the audition room.
Hmm.
So they come into the audition room, and I feel like if you are yourself, if you bring a strong point of view, whether it's right or wrong, and you're able to adapt it, those three things are, I think, the key of a successful audition. Don't be afraid of being who you are because they want to see who you are. Number two, know what the hell is going on and have an opinion about it. Do you agree? Do you not? What is your take on the character? And then, however, be ready to change it if the director doesn't agree with you,
And take that critique. Yeah.
and take the direction. Like, I love how you're making this choice. I think the character is actually, can we give it this color? Can we make sure that and then it should be then clear that it's good, flexibility is good. These three things I like to tell my students as well. I think as long as you do these three things, you can really go home and think I did a good audition.
Yeah.
So I've talked to like a couple like directors in the past as well, and they kind of like have described themselves as project managers.
Yes.
Do you agree with that? Because I feel like to a
Yeah.
certain extent more like so on like the production side it is, but I feel like a little bit it kind of takes away the creative aspect of the job.
Yes, I mean, I think it is. I'm afraid they have a good point. However, maybe the difference between a project manager and a director is that our project is a work of theater. So, but yes, especially in commercial theater, you do have a deadline and you work backwards and you say, okay, we open on this day, so we need to have drafts by this day, and rehearsal has to be this long,
uh,
and then you go into the details of knowing what happens in every day of rehearsal, and it might changes. But it is that I think my musical theater teacher, actually, she might have been one of your musical theater teachers. I'm not sure. Elaine Patrikoff. She bases her whole teaching on the idea of freedom and form. So you need to have form, which is the technique, but you also have to have the freedom of understanding that the technique is not there to box you in, but is there to
mhm.
free you up. So you have to learn how to do bar for ballet, but then you have to know how to be free and be in center and do swan lake without worrying about every single muscle. And the analogy that I love the most, I was listening to this psychologist talk. I unfortunately don't remember her name, but she was saying, if I have a kid run down the stairs, I mean, we all ran how to go down the stairs. We all learned how to go down the stairs step by step, and someone was holding our wrist as toddlers. And then now we can go down the stairs and not think about it. What happens though if you go down the stairs running and you start thinking about what you're doing? You probably fall
Right.
because you're getting in your head. So that, to me, it's like you have to learn the technique, but you have to let go and trust it. So for directing is the same. You want to make sure that you have a schedule but that you know how to read the room, let changes happen, and keep that balance between I have a deadline, but I also want to stay open to the creative process, which is why we need good people, because that's not as easy if you have problematic people around you. because you're not going to feel safe to break the form and say, let's try something different. If you have judgment around, if you have naysayers, if you have rudeness and disrespect, I feel like creative people tend to shut down. And that's the last thing you want to happen for the good of the project. But yes,
Yeah.
I kind of agree with your people who told you that it is kind of being a project manager. Sometimes more than I'd like it to be. Like sometimes like, oh my God, another email. Like I just want to be in rehearsals. But unfortunately, if you want a happy rehearsal to happen, you have to be very, very disciplined on whatever happens before.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, I've never heard that description of being like a project manager before, but like thinking about it, especially like the times that I've been in tech processes just as a creative or as someone that is in, whether it be the rehearsal process or whatever, on like a Broadway level, it's also like, well, now we have to make sure we know what all the unions are allowed to do and what all the creative like people and all of their different jobs are actually contractually allowed to do before we can actually continue the process. Or if we have
100%.
producers that have one vision of the project but you might have another vision of the project, finding a either having that conversation to find your happy medium or being able to
Yes.
remove yourself or be able to step away being like, okay, I know where I stand, I know where they stand, being I lost my train of thought.
There's all of that. No, there's all of that, and also the safety of the actors, and the fight coordinator and the intimacy director, and like you can't just do something. You have to make sure that everything you want to do is good for safety and for comfort of everybody, and that follows the vision. There's a lot to keep in mind, and you have to be good at organizing, and you have to have good assistants and good associates. And I love also what you guys are doing besides in your separate paths, but I love that you came up with this idea. And that's what I tell students all the time. It's like, whatever you do that's creative, whatever you do that it's, that you feel like it's a contribution, that's good. Like, just do it. Don't wait for anybody to hand you the opportunity. Create it for yourself. And look at you guys. This, even this project, I think it's wonderful that you are,
Mhm.
and it is a creative. It is something creative as well. Like putting together. I had a podcast once, and it's a lot of hard work, and it's but it's creative. Figuring out the guests, figuring out what segments you want them to be, and coming up with questions. And it is educational for people who are listening. I mean, good job, because
Thank you. This
everybody
is
should
staying in.
do something. Good.
This is staying in. So
Thank
Yes.
mostly for me.
you. Yeah, we can watch it over and over again just to keep ourselves motivated.
You can. I mean, I think it's wonderful. I think you're setting a great example.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you. And I don't want to keep you too much longer because I know that you are busy and you're on a completely different time
Time
zone
zone,
than
but
we
it's a pleasure.
are.
It's a pleasure.
Well, can you tell us what do you have that's coming up? I know you have Charlie
I
Brown
have
and
Yes, I have a production of Charlie Brown that's opening in Italy on November 2nd. And I'm very proud of this baby project of mine. It's for the 75th birthday of Charlie Brown, and it opens in the occasion of Lucca Comics and Games, which is one of the biggest comic cons in Europe. It attracts like over 700,000 people every year, and we are opening for this an occasion, and we have a great cast, and I'm very happy. Coming back to the United States, I am directing A Little Night Music at Manhattan School of Music with music direction by David Loud, and also great team of designer. And then I guess after that, I'm back at Casa Magnana. No, I'm doing Waitress over here in Italy first, and then I'm in Texas doing Come From Away for Casa Magnana, which is one of those wonderful regional houses I was referring to. They do great work. So if you're listening and you're in Texas, you probably know them already. But if you don't, you want to check them out. I've done several shows there, and it's a super interesting space. And they really commit to doing really good theater there. So I'm excited to go back.
and tell the people who are listening where they can find your personal handles.
Wow, I feel like a rock star.
I said, well, we're gonna blow
You
you
are.
up. You are a rock star.
Amazing. Well, thank you. I see that's the part I'm gonna listen to over and over again. They can find me at Eugenio Contenti, at Eugenio Contenti on Instagram. I'm not great at posting. I'm getting a little better. I posted a couple of things last week.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I believe I am on TikTok.
You
TikTok
are.
TikTok is the most popular form of media. So
I know,
TikTok,
I have a
Crazy.
weird relation. I love social media for staying in touch. I'm not great. I talk about projects I do, and I think I should get better at it. Talking about you always, want to step up your game. And I think this year I'm trying to make an effort to post more, and say something. So if you do have any content with this, I'll make sure to share it, or we can do a collab. How's that?
Yeah,
yes.
we'll collaborate with you like on
I feel like that
posts
old
for this.
teacher who is using like kids' words to be cool. I'm actually not that old, by the way. I'm just the same age as Darian, believe it or not. So
I just turned 22. So
same,
Oh,
absolutely.
me, I'm
22.
still 21.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
sure.
you're the little one here, but
No, well, we have this whole podcast and everything, and I still don't manage to make an Instagram post maybe once every 4 months of like, oh, I'm alive.
Yeah, I personally, I don't post a ton on my personal social media, but for some reason, I'm like now running like 3 other people's social media accounts, and I don't like understand
But
how
see,
it
I
became
understand
that
that
way.
part. But I
Yeah.
understand, I would love to run somebody else like and brag about other people. That I can do very well. It's more when it's about here's a picture of me and telling you be an actor because it's when you act. Like I just find it I have to find the way to,
Yes.
share,
It's hard
my
to like
voice or something.
yeah, I think that like doing it on like a personal level, and oh my God, I could talk about this for hours. I don't want to do a whole episode on like social media and theater specifically because we're like really pivoting that way. But like I remember when we were at school and we had that whole like meeting talk thing about how the person was like, "Oh, you guys need to like be on social media and like it should be like a certain image of promoting you as like an actor." And like now that's just like all that it is, but it's like starting it when majority of your followers are just like your friends and family, and then
Yes.
you're now talking to an
It's hard.
audience. You're supposed to be talking to an audience of like 8,000. Like it's weird and it's vulnerable, and like nobody
Well,
It is
it's hard
super
to like
vulnerable.
make
well,
that
I mean,
jump.
that's never been so true. Like, besides, like, because I remember that conversation in schooling too, and just being like having a social media presence and like having it showcase yourself. But like a post-COVID world, it has never been so absolutely necessary. It feels like, especially like
Yeah.
again, I'm jaded in the Broadway sphere. It feels like we must have a social media presence if we want the show to do well, especially since like TikTok has such an influence and like it's what made like Outsiders so big. It's what made Boop stay open longer. Like it does now, and I feel like it didn't as much in
Yes.
a pre-COVID
And
world, but in
it's
a
really a
post-COVID
new
world.
it's not as important as having an agent, but it's the way of communicating. And I think, what is the saying? Like I should do what I preach or whatever. But I think being ourselves, even in those scenarios, is the way to go with communication. So like the advice I was given is don't try to do what everybody else does, just do your own version of it. But it is still a vulnerable thing. And maybe that's
When you
why it's a good way to connect with people, especially if you're vulnerable while doing it. If you're
well,
authentic while doing it.
when you get back, we'll have to do a photo shoot so we can
Yes.
showcase your Instagram.
Let's do it. We'll do a photo shoot and then we'll get someone to, I don't know, manage it. That's the part that I like. Oh my God. But we'll
Well,
figure it out.
thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast today, and it's so lovely to see your face.
It's my pleasure to see both of you, and let's get together as soon as I'm in New York. And if
Yes,
you come on this
please.
side of the ocean, you know where to find me.